Silverburst Reserve.
Welcome back, everyone. My name's Steve. I got my buddy Brian with me, and today we're going to be comparing the Gibson Dave Mustaine Flying V to the Kramer Dave Mustaine Flying V. So Brian and I just got done playing both guitars. Brian owns the silver one, I own the green one, the Kramer and the Gibson. There are some differences right away that we noticed on the guitars. It doesn't immediately become apparent just by looking at them, but playability and some other quirks about them become immediately apparent though as you play them, and we have to go over that today. But I think we're going to start with the cases though. Let's go check out the big cases over there and see what the difference is with those first. So right off the bat, the Kramer case is gigantic. It's more of a Explorer type case. It's got green and white lettering on it for Kramer, the brand. It's got the Dave outlined image here. So I think the reason why Kramer went with this style case is because they could probably use this case for multiple style guitars. All they would have to do is change the insert on them so they could fit any other body shape inside the same case over and over again, where the Gibson one is really custom for just the Flying Vs. Alright, so inside the Gibson case here, it's got a nice black soft interior. Got your compartment here. The Gibson guitars also come with birthday photos when the guitar was first manufactured, and you get some paperwork as well, and lock and key for the case. The Kramer case, as you'll see, is also, I think it's more like a gray, would you say, Brian? A pewter color? All it comes with is a lock, and it has a huge compartment in there for all types of wires and even pedals probably you could fit in there. And this is what I was talking about earlier. This case, they could just reuse the same exterior shell of the case and just change the inserts on them. And they can run this case for multiple different guitars. As I mentioned, the Gibson one over there is specifically for a Flying V. Now, this comes down to preference. I personally like the smaller case. It's easier to store. The Kramer case I have to keep up here on the table, where the Flying V cases I have a guitar rack they stand up nicely on. Brian, what do you think about the two cases? Which one do you prefer?
I prefer the V case because it's easier to...
Yeah, it is easier, and especially, and that's a big difference too. If you don't have a van, if you got a small car, the Flying V case is a little bit smaller. It's going to be easier to transport the guitar around. But they're both great for securely, I think, storing and shipping the guitars. And speaking of guitars, let's go back over to those. So right away we can see that the Kramer guitar has beveled edges on it, where the Gibson is flat throughout. The Kramer has a string through body, so that there's a piece here for the strings to come through the body. The Gibson has the tail piece here for the strings to go through the back and up the neck. The Kramer comes with black hardware, so does the Gibson. The electronics are flipped, we noticed. Per Dave Mustaine's specifications, the front knob is the bridge volume. Normally it would be the second knob for the bridge. The Kramer version has it the traditional way, where this is the neck, the first dial. The second one is for the bridge. Also with the knobs here, you notice that the Gibson has traditional witch hat style knobs. The Kramer used these, I don't know what to call them, cylinder type. They got nice little finger grips here on the edge of them. And also you'll notice here that both guitars sport the Dave Mustaine signature Seymour Duncan pickups for the neck and bridge positions. Moving on to the neck, we see both have ebony fretboards. The Kramer gets dot inlays. The Gibson has the shark tooth inlays up the neck. And the headstocks are pretty much identical, both hockey stick style. Both have the truss rod covers here with Dave's signature on them. And of course, the mother of pearl inlay on the Gibson, and the printed Kramer brand on the Kramer guitar.
And both use the Grover tuners.
Yes, and they also, along with the Grover tuners, have Dave's logo on the back as well. Sorry for that. The Gibson guitar here came with Dunlop strap locks installed. The Kramer comes with traditional strap buttons. And if you notice here, the Kramer has the strap button first towards the end of the fin. The Gibson has the output jack first towards the end of the fin, moving the strap button in more. This helps a lot with neck diving, and surprisingly, both guitars are very good with that. Neither of them seem to neck dive at all on you. But we did notice that when you're wearing the guitar standing up, the Gibson feels more comfortable against your body. I guess it hugs you better as you're playing it, and it might be because of where the position here is of the strap button. but neither of them have any neck diving issues. So now checking out the back of the guitars. They both appear to have the same back plate on them, the same angled plate. Brian just noticed something about the strap buttons though.
Yes, this one is positioned slightly off center, so it won't interfere when you're hitting the bottom frets.
That's right. I think that was per Dave's request. A lot of people do this too on the Flying V's. They'll move the strap button forward more, and that will also create a second hole in your guitar, which is never that good. The Kramer one has it in its traditional location right in the center of where the neck joins with the body. So the other thing to note here is the wood grain on the Gibson. I don't know, you can see a lot of it. You can see a lot of the wood grain, like they didn't use any filler, or they didn't use enough filler, or it got sucked into the wood, absorbed. But you can see a lot of the wood grain through the Gibson, through the paint job. On the Kramer one, you can't see any of it. It's just green alien tech sparkle everywhere. Either you love it or you hate it as far as the wood grain goes. I don't mind it. It looks okay to me. I think it gives it some character, really, seeing the wood through it. If you want something pristine and perfect, you might want to consider the Gibson Custom Shop Dave Mustaine, but again, that's like $6,000 compared to these, which are now selling on the used market for about $2,000. Something to note here, if you wanted to get the green alien tech Gibson guitar right now in the used market, it's $5,000. When it was first released, it was only $200 more than getting the silver or the natural finished version of it, which makes the Kramer version a lot more attractive for purchase if it's something you want to play and gig with. It's a lot more affordable. It's even more affordable than the Gibson one. But that comes down to playability again, something that Brian and I noticed right away when you play these two guitars. They play very different. Brian, what did you feel about the difference between the two guitars when you played them?
I think the term I used was like butter for the Gibson.
Yeah. It feels better on your body, but I guess the feel of the neck as you're playing, it's a little bit, I guess it's easier to play, like Brian said. It's just felt, the profile of the neck is a little more comfortable, and it feels like there's less drag as you're playing going up and down the neck. You really got to play both guitars to see what you like better, what feels better to you as you play them, but both of us agreed that the Gibson felt easier to play and more comfortable to play.
But that's not saying that the Kramer is not playable by any means.
No, not by any measure. This is a great guitar. It looks badass with the velvet edges and the sharp corners. It screams. To us, they both sound identical in tone. We were playing them through my Orange Head Marshall stack, and Brian has the Boss Katana amp here on top. We swapped guitars. I couldn't tell the difference between tone-wise. We didn't really play anything clean on the clean side of things, but as far as our distortion and the tone we were getting, they were identical, and they should be. They're the same Dave Mustaine custom pickups. Gibson owns Kramer, and a lot of things here are very similar in design, but slightly different enough to be a different product, I think, for the offering here. So, Brian, if you could do it all over again, would you stay with the Gibson or would you go with the Kramer?
I would stay with the Gibson.
So, me, I really wanted the green. That's what it came down to. I didn't want to pay $5,000 to get the green. I agree with Brian. If it's playability you want and comfort, the Gibson is worth the extra money over the Kramer. Not to mention the case size is easier to transport and use. The Kramer, though, I think if you're going to be gigging with it and playing out more, it's a better option. I think if you're going to be gigging out, though, the Kramer has the looks for metal on stage, if that's what you're doing. It's also less of a financial investment, so if anything should happen to the guitar, it could be less of a loss if it's stolen or damaged and you're taking it on the road or just hitting clubs and bars with the guitars. Both, though, scream. They both sound excellent. Both are really fun to play. We both recommend just get the one you like. I think you'll be happy with either purchase. If it's speed and action though you want, the Gibson's going to play a little bit better, and the Kramer though is going to look a little better, I guess, for the price. So we hope this video helped you out. Please subscribe to the channel. Please give a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.